Look at the fantastic covers.
After Century, I decided to be a little closer. Means I'll have to be moving the camera, but we're not in 4K.
I've never seen one.
Well, the back row filled, so Tiffany, next time.
How are you guys? Why did you grace? Who are you guys? So was that 15 minutes or? So we don't want to be like, which size? Very good. I like that. One. So.
Thank you.
Are you the mayor?
No.
Victor, yeah,
Yes, that's where,
that's
okay.
you.
Are you here for the sign or?
I'm here to get information
Awesome.
for this paper.
Well, glad to have you here.
Happy birthday, SCOA.
Thank you.
And,
And
you know,
I said, I know her. Where in the world is that from? And thank you. Thanks.
yeah.
Okay. We're good.
Thought it came from.
That's awesome. Just pass it down. I think. She's here. School assignments.
It's like.
Yeah. Just.
Yes. That is something. It's pretty. Okay, call this meeting to an order. Who's gonna adjourn us right? No, order. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We just had a meeting prior to this with 3 of our principals that gave principals reports, so appreciate them. It's always fun to hear what's going on in our schools and the wonderful things that are happening. We also have a couple of students here that are here for, if you want to, I don't know your names, superintendent met you. So
Please stand
I don't
up.
want to just point, you know, but so will you stand up and introduce yourselves and just tell us? We're just happy you're here. We're not trying to put you on the spot.
Addison.
Okay,
She's here for a government assignment, correct?
government assignments.
Very good. Thank you for being here.
Are you here for a government assignment?
I'm just supporting.
You're supporting. Good job. Good job. And then this,
I'm Afton Eldridge. I'm in the SCLA,
oh,
and I'm also here as a student journalist
oh,
at Mons Building High School.
well, welcome. I love it. Thank you for being here. Okay, we're going to start off by, we'll have our reverence by Keith Meekum, and then our flag salute by Rod Cook, and then recognitions from Tiffany Summers.
I was just, thinking of this lately, and I've always appreciated Oprah Winfrey and her thoughts on things. And it's a nice little quote. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never, ever have it. So, great time to reflect. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight. We're grateful for this school board and for their sacrifices that they make on behalf of community members, children, employees. We're grateful for their many hours and dedication. We're grateful for all of our employees, especially grateful for our teachers and for the hard work they put forth each and every day. We recognize the challenges that have hindered them in some ways and pray that they'll be buoyed up and strengthened. We pray for our students and pray that they might recognize peace in their life and confidence to conquer amazing things. And we pray that that will be with us tonight as important decisions are discussed and decided upon, that we might be wise in our decisions and keep students at the forefront of our decisions. We love thee. We're grateful for all that we have, especially this Thanksgiving season. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Everybody stand and salute the flag. Repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for recognitions tonight, we have 2 different recognitions, but for 3 different people. So we will start with Mr. Corey Thompson. Excuse me, I'm nervous for some reason. Do this for a while, just breathe. So, Corey and also Principal Jackman, both of you. This has been Sunrise High School was Corey Thompson's first large-scale project in our district, and the work on Sunrise High School has been recognized as an outstanding project in the fall 2021 Learning by Design magazine. So that's pretty amazing. Corey, we want you to know that we appreciate the thorough and professional manner that you address the needs of our school district's facilities. You attend to each project with no detail left undone. You keep us well informed, and we appreciate the way you quickly respond to any of our questions or concerns. Congratulations. It's just a great accomplishment to have that very first big project be honored in that way. It's a beautiful building. So, thank you. Principal Jackman, we know that you are an integral part of the design phase and construction of this school. I know that you were very vested in your school, right? Your practical knowledge and understanding of the day-to-day needs of your students brought a focus on how the building would work to provide the best educational opportunities for them. Thank you, Principal Jackman, for your continued service to the students and staff at Sunrise High School. Congratulations on this awesome recognition. And Heidi Jo West, our principal at Mountain View Elementary. And we want to congratulate you on being recognized as Utah School Network's 2021 Administrator of the Year. Congratulations. Staffing professional here in our district, and we appreciate the work that you do during school time as well as out of school time to support learning at high levels for each of the students at Mountain View. We want to join the Utah After School Network and the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Utah in recognizing your work enriching the school day with before and after school programs that benefit the lives and educations of so many students that need that time filled with educational opportunities. So we are so grateful for you and applaud your work.
Thank you, Tiffany, and thank you all, Heidi Jo and Principal Jackman and Corey. We just really appreciate, big things. That's amazing. And we're grateful to have you in our district and for the dedication. It's nice to get the honors, but we know that you do the work anyhow. So we know that's not why you do it. So we appreciate what you're doing. All right, we've come to the point for an approval of our agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda this evening.
So we have a motion by Connie Archibald and a second by Brian Smith. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, agenda is approved. Do we have no public comment? Okay, moving on then. All right, our first action item is our audit report. And I know our audit committee met just prior to this, and received this, but we are going to turn time over to Ron and maybe he can direct us what we need to know from the audit report.
First of all, I'd like to introduce Matt Geddes from Squire and Company. He was our auditor this year, and I think he's got a small presentation he wants to give the board.
Great.
And then I'll speak for a minute.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. And that's, you mentioned, we did meet with the audit committee earlier today for about an hour, went in pretty good detail. We won't rehash those details. They can fill you in, or I'm always happy to answer any questions you have either today or any time. Just wanted to highlight three primary responsibilities we have as an auditor. Squire has. The first responsibility we have is to audit your financial statements. You have a lot of transactions, a lot of balances that happen throughout the year. Rod and his team spend a lot of time the entire year accounting for those things, and we come in as auditors and evaluate that those items have been safeguarded and reported appropriately. A financial statement is prepared and we issue an opinion on that financial statement. And that opinion is that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the district. What that means is, as a board, as you review the balances and activities within that financial statement, you can rely on that information as you make decisions on monthly expenses. The second item I wanted to highlight is what's called the federal single audit. We're required to perform testing of compliance as it relates to the federal revenue you receive. You receive about, this year you received about $15 million in federal revenue. We're required to select a sample of programs and test compliance related to those programs. This year, those programs were the Coronavirus Relief Fund and the Education Stabilization Fund, which were both funded through the CARES Act, which is new this year. And we issued an opinion on compliance related to those programs. Once again, it's a clean opinion that you complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements outlined by the feds related to those programs. The final report that we have is in accordance with the state auditors audit guide. They outline specific state compliance requirements that they have us look at. We look at those, we evaluate those, and issue an opinion on compliance as it relates to state compliance requirements. And once again, an unmodified opinion or clean opinion that the district complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements outlined by the Office of the Utah State Auditor. So a very boring report that I just gave you, but you don't want exciting on it. So it's a good thing. We express appreciation to you for your leadership, but especially management and Ron and his team for the time and efforts that they take. They're very responsive. They were able to provide us the information we needed to be able to do our jobs quickly and timely, and that's evidenced by their report. Any questions you have for me?
I think so. Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
No clap.
You know, accountants, we
Yeah.
just don't get many kudos. We gotta get them when we can.
Yeah, I'm excited for the recognition next year.
Yeah.
Just express appreciation to Matt and his team. This was our first year being audited by Squire. And every time there's a change, we kind of have to learn to dance together, if you will, a little bit. And it's been actually a good year for a change, so we do appreciate them. I do have a quick audit report.
This is it, Rob.
Yeah, that we'll just run through. That's kind of, I've used the same slides every year and just kind of changed the numbers so you can look at kind of the comparisons of things. So let's move forward on that.
Oh,
You know,
sorry.
we can get
Well,
to the next one. Okay, so the general fund, which is, we used to call it, it's Fund 10 or the maintenance and operations. This is the day-to-day fund. Revenue is 105 million, expenditures 107. We spent about 2.5 million more than revenue, but we were expecting to do that. I budgeted to spend some of our balances because of the emergencies, carryover still from COVID and some of those kinds of things. The ending fund balance is about $19 million, and that's all of the carryovers that we have. A lot of, most of it is set aside for things. The amount in the bank, what I like to call is the dollars you have in the bank at the end of the year is 170,000. You'll see that decreased by $1.6 million. Once again, that's kind of reflecting that we spent extra funds to accommodate COVID above and beyond what federal funds we got. We've talked about, we used to call it restricted fund balance, but our auditors have straightened us out on that a little bit. It's now called unearned income, but it's the balance left of state programs, money that we haven't spent yet. That's $2.2 million. That's actually an increase over last year of 632,000. The total assigned balances is 15 million, a little over $15 million, but that includes, that's a decrease of $870,000, but it does include the committed or the rainy day funds. So this is just where the money comes from, the revenue. We have, well, I can't see that very well, but it's federal 9% and local 26%, and state is about 65%.
Now, federal's normally not that high, but due to.
Federal's up because of ESSER funds or the COVID funds that we received. So federal last year was down around 6%. So that's a good point. But that shows where our overall revenue and the general fund came from. Next slide is just how expenditures work out. And at the bottom of that slide, I think I showed, we are very people intensive. We're about 85% salaries and benefits for our employees. And I thought I'd put that on the bottom there, but it doesn't show up. But anyway, it might be on the next slide. I've got the wrong slide. Go back to that one. This is I apologize. This is by type of activity. So these are expenditures by instruction, business operations, school operations, support services, building maintenance. These are the percentages on that. And you guys have that in your packet. This is the one that's by salaries, supplies, those kinds of things. And about 85% of our total budget in the general fund goes towards hiring people, paying people. We're very people intensive. And the student activity fund is all of the schools. I just like to show you this because we've been talking. I show you this every year, but we talked about fees, and this is everything that goes on in all of the schools. A majority of it is fees from students, and we're pretty much, it shows we're pretty much spending what we take in, just really close there. Next slide. The debt service fund, we're trying to, as the audit committee can remember, we're trying to spend that down a little. So the revenue is just a little over 3 million. The expense is 3.2. So we spent a couple of $100,000 more, but we still have a fund balance of 6.9 million there that we need to eat into, if you will.
Ron, would you explain what debt service is? That's
The debt service is your bond, the bond payment. The bond was passed in 2007, if you'll recall, and it's mostly remodels of the two high schools, plus building Garland and Snowville Elementaries. $70 million. You're paying about $3.2 million on that debt. And I think Matt just told us tonight there's about $24 million left to pay on that debt.
Through 2030.
Yeah, through just about through the end of the decade. And capital outlay, that is all building projects, equipment, that kind of thing. The reason, and that is significantly more than what we usually bring in and spend. But if you'll recall, we borrowed $15 million to build Golden Spike, and then we're going to use $15 million of fund balance that we had. We're about $12 million through Golden Spike, a little bit, not quite half right now. As of the end of the year, we were about 9. The ending fund balance there shows us 31 million, but that includes the money that was borrowed, and we talked about this a little bit in the audit committee. But if you want to know more, we'll be talking more about fund balance as we talk about projects. So we won't spend a lot of time tonight on that. School food service, because of the federal laws that were passed, school food service has benefited. They've got a significant amount of money, as everybody knows. Students are eating at no cost, and the federal government is paying us for the cost of the meals. And so we had significantly more revenue than we had expenses this year, because the feds reimburses were kind of efficient. The feds reimburses more per meal than what it actually costs us. So we gained $1.4 million in that fund this year. And the bottom line basically is shows that we overspent what we took in, $8.9 million. That's because we were spending funds for a school and overspending in our general funds. So don't be alarmed. We still have overall balances of 64 million. A lot of them are designated for things like to finish the Golden Spike School. So we're not sitting on a big pot of money that it's already been spent or been committed. So that's just kind of a quick rundown of everything. I do need to thank my staff. They are excellent. They keep us operating day to day. They pay the bills, they pay the employees. And I have, in my 40 years of working in school districts, haven't had as good a staff as I have right now. These guys are fantastic, and they really deserve kudos.
Well, I'm gonna give them.
And I do appreciate them, and that's all I have to.
Thank you. Do you have any questions from the board? Oh, thank you, Rod, and our audit committee and our audit company that took care of that, and your staff. Please give our thanks to them as well, because yeah, they keep the lights on, they keep kids and the employees paid, keep the lunches coming, so we appreciate that. Keith Meekum is going to go through our present professional learning.
Yeah,
Didactic.
so I'd just like to speak,
We need a motion to.
Oh, sorry, we need to accept that. Sorry, we are in action. So we needed a motion to accept our audit. Thank you for catching that. Okay, so we have a motion by Karen and a second by Wade. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, now we can move on.
yeah, thank you. So we had a discussion out at Century Elementary last month, talking about substitute shortage. Obviously in March of 2020, when across the state, we went to soft closure, substitute teachers that were hired at least by third party, like we have Kelly's or Frontline, they kind of went unemployed. And many of them came back and are doing a marvelous job in our district, but not as many as we had in 2020. We're still involved in COVID. We still have staff out, we have kids out, and every time there's a teacher out, or a para out, that's at least 7, sometimes 8 days out of the classroom. So you couple with, we just have more absences due to COVID, and then we have less people in the pool. And some of the things that we have planned, in particular, we have 80 new teachers this year. There's certain trainings that they're required. If 80 teachers are out of the building, they're not going to fill. Those jobs aren't going to fill. And we also have some other PLC work through different schools and their leadership teams working on tier 1. No, what is it called? RTI. Thank you. I lost that word. Anyway, there's things that we started in the summer when we had that big conference. There's going to take some 80 subs out for that. There's been a lot of discussion. Do we do this after school? Do we do it during the school? One of the things that the state law actually allows us is we're required to have 180 days of school. 2 of those days can be parent-teacher conference, and 4 days or 32 hours can be used for other professional development type of things that still count towards the 180. Our district has traditionally never, ever, ever used any of those 4. We've used the parent-teacher conference for the last 4 years. We've not used any of the other additional PDs. So we have a couple, and this is going to have, I'm curious your discussion, but next year's calendar, which we hope to bring before you next in December, will be more strategic about when we put these days. The days you're going to see that I'm recommending are on Thursdays. It's not because I think Thursday's a wonderful day for parents and kids. But it is the days that we had already had prepared a year ago to have these types of trainings. So in the future, our goal would be is to have some of these days on a Friday. Kids would stay home, employees would work. We could work through some of these professional developments that we still need to do, both at a district level, at school level, a department level, and maybe even just a classroom level. We know that there's a stress on our teachers. We know that it's kind of hard. We're not back to, pre-pandemic. By giving 2 days, kids, yes, they're out of the building, but to disrupt an entire day with 80 subs, it's disruptive across the board. Teachers have to cover on their preps. A lot of classes have to be combined. Paras are not doing what they're paid to do. They have to go cover this class. This is just disruptive. And I'm still not convinced that we're where we need to be to help support our staff. I'm still not sure that 2 days, one in February and one in March, is just really helping this next week. And I would encourage us to possibly be a little more finding other additional ways to help support. And we don't have to talk about that now. I don't want to spread the rumor fire, but I do have thoughts. But in the meantime, I guess my thought is we know there's going to be a couple of disruptive days. We've never used the 4 provisional days that you could use in a calendar. So my recommendation, and as a bell, we would like, and again, if I could have my cake and eat it too, it'd be on a Friday. We just can't move our presenters that are coming in to help us support. If we could, we would move it. We can't. So my suggestion and proposal would be that the school board change the 21-22 calendar, which is the one we're in. And on February 24th, which is a Thursday, and March 24th, which is a Thursday, those 2 days be designated as professional development / data dives. It allows us to do a variety of things, to give teachers some time to do things of catching up, extra planning. It helps us do things at the district level that we think are very, very important. And it doesn't disrupt every teacher when they have to cover everybody's class and combine schedules. Again, that would be days that students would not come. That would be my proposal. And thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion on that?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead,
So
Karen.
are you doing a course next year? So in those days, are we still doing the ACT day when the juniors? When is that falling?
It's usually the first week in March. I don't have the exact date, but usually the first week in March.
Okay. And then, I keep going to other ideas. I've been getting a lot of comments also about the teachers are being really stretched. At what point do you want to share your other ideas?
I can share them whenever you'd like. I had entertained them tonight, and so here's the thought, just while I'm throwing them out. By the way, we are not unique. Cash, Logan, Weber, Ogden, the 4 closest to us, all use at least 3 of the professional development days that are allowed, that would still count towards the 180. They use these. And not that we want to be copycatters, but I will tell you that oftentimes they'll say like twice a month, we're going to go minimum day Friday. Full day for teachers, students go home after 4 hours, and you got a chunk of time of 2.5 hours that could be used for catch up. Now, every teacher probably says, I wish I could have 30 minutes or an hour every day. We know where that went last year and potentially disrupted. So yeah, you could say we're going to cut 30 minutes off the back end of the day. Minutes are not, 990 is not a requirement this year. It's been a requirement for many years, but the last 2 years it's been waived. But you could say, okay, we're going to go minimum days on Fridays. It does disrupt kindergarten and preschool, not required services, things that we offer. You could do a twice a month. It would give a teacher every 2 days or every 2 weeks a chance to just have some bulk time right together to do some advanced planning, determine what the bells are we're going to cover the next 2 weeks, update Canvas courses, etc. Something like that could happen. How long is this pandemic going to roll? I thought would be long gone. However, it's still alive and kicking. And, one thought to consider is perhaps, and I did a little just checking the calendar, but you could do something like, second and fourth Fridays of each month, at least through second trimester, see how it goes. Obviously in December, there's only one because it would be on the 10th, and then there's the holiday. January, there could be 2 Fridays that are minimum days and 2 in February. It would at least give teachers some time, maybe something, I got to have it every day. I don't know what would be the right thing. This would be maybe a consideration, but I do believe we're not out of the system. We're not out of, we're not back to normal. We are in a lot of ways, but we're not in so many other ways. And I think our teachers are a little stretched. I think our parents are a little stretched. We have an uneasiness in society. We get people jumping quickly to anger and frustration, and I don't know if we can bring that down, but ideas would be really good to try to do that. So Karen, keep bringing them. I'm just excited to talk to you.
So, as I've talked to teachers and administrators over the past month, seems like that at the elementary level, the teachers are wanting more time. And at the secondary level, then we need that, they need that break. Got a couple of elementary principals here. I'm good with, I would actually propose that every other minimum days, but I don't want to affect the elementary teachers in a negative way. What I've heard from them, they need more time. So,
Is that more time for?
yeah. So I'm sure you guys are aware of that too. So I'm just asking.
One thing that when we spoke about and talked about some of my possible ideas, because Superintendent yesterday did ask each of our principals to go back and go to their schools with their leadership teams and try to come up with some ideas of things that they could do just within their own buildings. But the other thing is also is just making sure that we're making a decision based off numbers and not just a handful of people, because going every other Friday is going to be a disruption for families. And if we only have 10% or 20% of our population, we just don't really have a quantified number as to what that really means. We've all heard from a handful of people, but I can't say that I've heard from 50% of our.
No, that's what I was wondering.
And so just being careful that we find ways to maybe get that information so that we're really making a decision based off data, based off our communities and our stakeholders' needs, and not doing something knee-jerk because we've heard from a handful of people. Not say that their issues aren't, but when you're a big organization, you have to look at data to help support your decisions that you make.
Suggesting maybe a survey.
Something like that. I mean, we just have to find a way to get that information and collect that data so that we are making a really informed decision from our stakeholders and what they see from our teachers as well as community. I don't know. I just hate us to disrupt families and households, and those are things that will impact families.
I was just wondering if you had that principal meeting yesterday, were they asked to go back to their schools and find that information out? And could we gather that from?
Or just try to come up with ideas
Try to come up
themselves,
with
but
ideas.
it'd be easy for us to ask them.
I think
We could definitely
I
do
think it
that.
would be easier to go through the principals know their teachers and they can talk to them and find out the information and then bring that back, because I agree with you. I think we want to do what we need to do to help them.
Right.
But again, how do you balance that with, like Karen said, some people want more time to prepare and some people need more time to instruct, and where really is the balance? So.
And then everyone's personal, your own personal situation in life is going to
Yeah.
determine that. I mean, I can have a lot going on in all aspects of my life. So obviously my stress level as a human is elevated. You know what I mean? So there's lots of factors that play into that for different individual teachers, and we can try to find different ways to empathize and help best we can. And then there is part of it is there's always going to be hard times in life. And this is one of those years right now that's really hard. And we want to express that love and support to all of our educators because it is hard what they're doing. But there's times when we just have to dig deep and support and hug and cheer and support and help each other when we have to get through tough times together.
So
Go ahead, Karen.
with that, I don't know if you want to do a survey out to families and teachers, because it does affect families, or want to just do for the teachers. But I do think that we do need to try and find ways we can support. I'm supportive of the ideas of, half day Fridays, twice a month, if that's really what will help. But I don't want to do something that would cause unintended consequences. So,
We'll reach out and make sure we ask our principals to dig deep and see where we find it.
And if we could find out, for like our next board meeting is like December, I don't think we could do a half day Friday in December, like that's probably not, but if we could find out the information by our next board meeting, then we can make that decision for January, February, or really see what's going on. Maybe everything will be better.
that's right.
That's what we are.
With that, I'm 100% supportive of the two.
Yeah.
things that you proposed, but I just am wondering if there's more.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I think we have two issues. I don't think, Harry, you're saying that we need a survey to find out if the teachers are having struggles and challenges. I think everybody agrees with that. But I think we need some immediate, right now, solutions. He's proposed a couple that are great. I don't think it goes far enough. We need more right away. And then we also need a long-term solution. It's been evidenced by some of the actions that the board has taken in the last couple of months that not everybody wants the same thing. We have a wide range of kids and families that have different needs. We're trying to squeeze everybody into one thing. And a lot of families want to start later, other families don't. So we really need a long-term solution to look at our ability to have more choices for family. I think we need to look at that and give, instead of being so structured and forcing everybody into, which we know kids are so different, have different needs. So that's my thought. Supportive also of what piece of it I think we need to take larger steps as quickly as possible.
Yes, John.
I
John.
I was just gonna say with the survey about asking teachers and stuff, like, I understand it's a teacher oriented issue, like they need more instruction time or planning time. But as far as the taking days off school, I know for some kids, school is a better place than home. And so I know that like we need a long-term solution, but just for that survey, maybe send that to teachers and families. Because it's like an overwhelming majority says yes, to obviously do it, but just that family input too, I think is very important.
Any other comments or questions?
President Taylor, are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
I would like to make a motion this evening that we accept the 2 additional development days or data dive days, whichever you want to call that, for the 2021-22 school year, with Thursdays designated as February 24th and March 24th as those 2 days for this coming school year.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Connie Archibald, a second from Brian Smith about accepting these 2 deep dive days. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, put those on the calendar. Thank you for working that in. And I think we all agree with Brian too. We need to keep brainstorming, keep trying to find solutions. This constant problem solving. That's why kids take math. Public service announcement. It's learned private. That's why it's important. Okay, next item on our agenda, the high school master schedule. Do you want to talk about this? Or do you want me to just explain what we've done and what we're going to do?
I'll be glad to let you,
Okay.
but I'll be glad to do it as well.
No, I can do it. So for the past year and a half, we have been exploring the option of changing the master schedule at our high schools. And originally we've had multiple meetings, some more formal than informal. We've had a couple of work sessions with the board to try to get data and information and see where we stand on those. We've been trying to reach out, and as of today, we talked about this last month in October, and one of the big issues that we have is the cost. We are on a 6-period trimester, and it costs money to go to a 5-period trimester, and we've even, at the beginning, we batted around an A-B day, but that's way too expensive to give a prep every day on that schedule. So some of the reasons behind it was we had high school principals come to us. We have a large number of parent releases. There's a lot of credits that are not necessary. Like we have more than they want to take. Students taking multiple classes multiple times. There's also tier 1 instruction time, and our data showing some of our test scores are not as high as those in comparison. Some areas were good, some areas not so good. So there's just a lot of information. We've been talking about this, and we've decided at this point we need to have a little bit more information. So we're going to take the next month and maybe bring it back next month and talk about, because we kind of got to the point where we're like, money is, it's it just costs a lot of money, and we're trying to see if the benefit out. We really want to do what's best for students. We really care about our students' learning. And our mission statement is we ensure high levels, or we ensure all students can learn at high levels. And so we feel like we need to make that. And we know the schedule is not what makes it. We know the teachers make it. We know that it's those that are dedicated and the parents and the students. But we do know that time in front of a professional who could teach it is better than time in front of a parent who doesn't remember how to do math, or it's different than the way they did it when I was growing up. And so there's a variety of issues. And there's prep time involved, there's secondary, elementary, there's just a lot involved in it. So we're trying to come up with a way that we can solve all of our problems and afford it. So is that a good assumption? And so we're going to, we're not going to take action on this tonight, but it is something that is on our radar and has been for about 1.5 years, as far as meetings. And we're starting the discussion, and we've had several of our board members sit on different parts of these, and our principals and our counselors have been involved in this, and we're going to reach out and find out with teachers and continue to find out what we can to do what's best for our students in our district. So anyhow, that's why it's on the schedule, and that's why we're not doing anything about it tonight. But okay, so we need to, it's an action item. So we do need to have a motion to table that, or to, okay, so Karen has made a motion to table that till next month, and a second by Tiffany. So any questions or other comments that cover?
I would just like to add that I think we need to formalize what you just described. Make it a formal, I don't know, committee or something.
Yeah.
With reports back. And I'd like to understand under what we've been working. Are we thinking out of the box? Are we looking at options?
Yeah.
You know, some kids starting later, some kids ending school later. Are we looking at some of those things? I know those are longer term solutions. It's going to be hard to do that without a lot of coordination and discussion throughout the district, but I think we have to formalize what you just described.
Yeah, thank you. And I think to just as we started this committee, it started with what did we call it, Karen? It was you and Wade and I, the public
Community engagement.
community engagement committee. That's how we started it, because it was the past president, which was Wade, the current president, which was Karen, and I was the vice president at the time. This was back in 2020. And so we had that, and we met with the leadership team. We had the high school principals. We had a couple of high school counselors when we just started this process. And in those committees, we've kind of kept it within that committee as far as to do that. So if you would like to be part of that, maybe that's because you have these, I know, Brian, this is something that you care a lot about. And I think that we want all ideas, and it's just one of those things that it's kind of a monster. Like, this is not like, oh, this is a great change. Like, the more you delve into it, the more difficult it becomes. But the question is there a concern? Is there a reason we came to it? Was there a concern? Was there a problem? Yes, there was. There was a concern brought to us from principals and from counselors. Is it addressable? Yes, maybe. And so now we're just kind of going through that. So we had a motion to.
Julie, can I just?
Yes, go ahead.
It's my understanding, and Superintendent help me with this, that for us to decide anything for the next year, we have to do it by next month.
Yes.
Is that correct?
So that in no way means that we have to make this decision that quickly. Like, we can, if we want to, one of my concerns has been I feel like we've been working on it for 1.5 years and we're no further along than where we started. So I'm kind of a let's make a decision and move on kind of person, but I also know that that's not. So I think this next month, we're going to try to gather some more data. And if it's enough that we can make a decision and say, hey, yeah, we all feel good about this, and we can get the buy-in from the teachers and the support, and then move forward, yes. But if not, we don't have, we're not rushing this by any means.
Well, because we want to do the right thing.
We want to do the right thing.
Exactly.
We just want to do it linearly, not like this. So we had a motion by Karen. I'm math, we draw pictures, lines, circles. Okay, so we had a motion by Karen and a second by Tiffany. Are there any other questions? Just to table the motion, that's our motion.
And I agree with Brian. We need to look a little bit more outside of the box.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor of tabling that or that? Yeah, this agenda item till next month. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to our information items. All right. Brigham City's annual tax increment finance report. Paul Larson.
You have a place we can connect this?
I can connect it.
We appreciate you being here.
We also have city manager Jason Roberts.
Jason Roberts, thanks for telling me. I recognize you, I don't know everybody's name. Thank you for being here.
He just wants to connect to the
Where do we sit?
HDMI.
It's right.
Anywhere you'd like.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. You're representing to the board, and I know it feels funny, so you can probably go there or there.
It's wired.
You hate to have these people, guys.
The camera's gonna follow you, sir, wherever you want.
That's just fine.
Let's do that.
Set this up on here for a conversation.
Maybe we'll try over here.
Ronnie's a good-
While they're setting that up, I can probably present what we're doing a little bit here. Earlier this year, we were working with the school district on a potential economic development project that was looking at coming to Box Elder County. We worked with one of your subcommittees, with one of your subcommittees on doing this. And as we were going through the process, we said, I think we all decided it would be a good thing if we could give you some updates on what sort of economic development areas are in Brigham City and what activity has happened in those areas. So today we're going to show you all of our development areas and talk about what they've been used for and what's happened in the areas over time. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
That's all a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we had this 50 years ago at Bear Lake High School. But
Yeah.
it's finally gotten here.
Just so everybody knows, Paul Larson and I graduated from the same high school, Bear Lake High School, Montpelier, Idaho.
Yeah.
But he is a year older. Yeah, I don't think so.
Just makes
And
it closer to that.
he was also an east sider. This is Montpelier. I'm the west side. I'm the other side of the valley. So that only means something to he and I, right? That only. Long story. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, there are all sorts of stories. Yeah, I can tell you about some football games I watched to see.
Yeah.
So like Jason mentioned, we have a presentation. We could get a copy of this to you if you'd like. So you can go back and review it, but we have.
We can't.
Oh, I didn't mean to look like that. No, I've seen it. You can all have it. And ask questions anytime you want during this presentation.
Yeah.
So this is a breakdown of the project areas that we have in the city. 1,100, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's my math. 10. And we'll go through each one of these. Some will be very quick because they're really inactive and no budget. And some of them do have activity and budgets. So the map shows you how they're distributed around town. The newest is the True Core CRA right here, sandwiched between New Core Building Systems and GM, and then Hillcraft over here. 1100 South CDA, Community Development Project Area, was created in 2009. We recently, last year, put together a tax increment participation agreement with the developer there. This is a conceptual, well, this is a master plan, master development plan and road plan for development that will occur there. This is the budget that was adopted through interlocal agreement with taxing entities. The school district is not participating in this project area. The other taxing entities are. This will have potential for 750 or more housing units, medium to high density housing in that area. Just to orient you, this is 1100 South. This is the new intersection that was put in a few years ago, and this is the railroad.
The Perry City boundary is right along here. The Airport Economic Development Project area is created in 2008. We've never adopted or proposed a budget in that project area. So there is no participation by any taxing entity in this project area. We have used, the only thing that we've done a couple of minor things through the RDA. One of those was facilitating the acquisition of property here for the school district's bus maintenance facility. But other than that, there really has been no activity in that project area. The campus community development project area across the street, the USU campus, this was created in 2012. The intent behind this, if you recall back then when USU was planning to build the building, the deal with the Utah legislature was that the legislature would fund 50% of the building. The local community would fund the other 50%. And the way that was put together is we worked through a community development project area with the tax increment that comes through that project area is used to pay off the bond. 20-year term, 90% of tax increment to the agency. One thing we've done here is show you under the base year value that exists. This is the amount the school district receives today out of that project area. When at the expiration of the project area budget, and this is just an estimate based on best guess today, about $530,000 of tax funding that will come to the district. That's just the school district. It's not all the taxing entities.
That's annual.
That would be annual, yeah. The Northwest Economic Development Project area was created in 2005. It's an industrial focus, 15-year term under that original budget approval. 100% of tax increment to the agency, 10% of increment was required to be directed towards affordable housing. At the time, the law actually required 20% to go into housing. We were able to get a reduction in that from the Olin Walker Housing Loan Fund so that we can go down to 10%, but we do take 10% of increment to go into housing projects. Primarily what we've done with that is a low-income housing rehabilitation grant that helps low-income single-family homeowners. These are existing homes, existing families, helps them rehabilitate that house. In a lot of cases, helps them stay in that house and make it better for the neighborhood, better for the homeowner, the community at large. This is where Nucor Building Systems is located. This is Nucor Building Systems here, Francis Trucking here, and Gem Buildings here. Those are the ones that are producing the tax increment. There are roughly 500 jobs within that project area. The school district under the base year value from that project area gets about $4,400 a year. At the expiration of this project area budget, the school district would receive about $198,000, $200,000. Again, that's best guess based on today's numbers.
The 15 years.
That is, no, that's at the expiration of the project area budget.
The budget wasn't adopted in 2005. It was
No,
adopted.
it was adopted.
The area was created in 2005, but the budget wasn't.
Right.
Like a lot of the areas we show, you don't have budgets yet,
Right.
or never will.
What's the budget?
I believe 2007, 2000, in that rough time frame.
So we're looking at having that come to.
Well, this is one where, so in the last special session, the Utah legislature enacted SB 6001, which allows agencies to extend for 3 years, a one-time 3-year extension. We analyzed 3 project areas for COVID impact, and we did enact the extension on the Northwest EDA due to impacts with Nucor Building Systems. So that is, I should have put the expiration dates on this. I think we're probably 5 years out now. Yeah, True Core Community Reinvestment Project Area. This is a division of Nucor Steel. True Core is a company that will manufacture insulated metal panels for primarily industrial, but commercial construction as well. When this came through the first time, this is the site plan that we worked with. You may recall we came through with interlocal agreements. Under that agreement, the school district said that you would contribute 60% of tax increment for a 15-year term. The other taxing entities contribute 60% for 20 years. And the cap depends on individual taxing entities. There are caps. After we got those interlocal agreements in place, TrueCore, I should say Nucor, began working on an acquisition of a competitor to TrueCore. So there's another company out in the marketplace, I can't remember the name of it now. But Nucor said, we would like to buy that competitor, take their market share, combine it with TrueCore, and expand the scope of our project. So this sort of went on hold. You may have seen I started site work on the property and got a fair amount into the site work before they said, let's hold off. Once the acquisition is done, we'll know what the scope of the project needs to be. The latest I've been told by Nucor is they anticipate 2022 timeframe to get the project back up and going. And at that point, it's likely to be a larger building, more employees, more capital investment, because now they've eliminated a competitor from the market. They will acquire that market share and move forward. So at the moment, again, that project area, everything is set to trigger. But until Nucor moves forward and says, okay, now we're moving forward, we may have to come back and say, okay, we're going to have to adjust the boundary of the project area if they need, because the boundary that we set was the boundary of the project. So if that boundary expands, then they'll need to work on legal descriptions, that kind of thing. So we'll see.
Does it change other aspects of the policy?
No. Essentially, it just means the amount of capital investment by Nucor is likely to go up. The number of jobs will likely go up. And
That was one that
Yeah.
kind of triggered that being more.
we could come back and, see what that impact is. I know, again, with Nucor, as we looked at this, they're really looking at the local labor market, hiring locally. There will be probably some management folks that come in to get a plant running. Yeah, but for the most part, these are going to be folks that are already here.
And realistically, material changes need to be approved by the school board.
Right.
Once again, if there is a material change to the agreement.
Yeah, if that happens, we will be back before you. The redirect economic development project area. This is one, we created the project area in 2016. The idea was to facilitate industrial development. This is a premier site for a number of reasons. The interchange on the interstate, the rail that's on the north side, rail served sites are the premium these days. The nature of the property is such that it's a pretty attractive site, but it does have some hair on it, as they say in the industry. Unlike
That was
me.
another one of those ones.
I didn't mean to.
I transferred my hair to the.
Yeah.
So.
Not a poker player on Jason.
What are those issues?
Well, one, so right here is a road, 2400 West comes in here, 2600 West comes in here. We're working on getting a rail crossing relocation from 2600 West to 2400 West, building a road that would come through. That's one issue. What are some of the other things that come up?
The utility needs in the area are
Utility,
expensive.
soil issues.
And there are some soil issues like most of Box Elder County.
Yeah, the soil issues are very
Yeah.
common to our area. So,
So that's Brigham City. Where's the Brigham City in? I thought everything.
the river is kind of the dividing line
River,
between the annexation policy areas. This is actually annexed into Brigham City, so it's part of Brigham City's.
The Boyer sign that's just off the freeway, it's on that property, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Boyer has closed on property right in this area. We have been very close with a number of large projects. You remember Project Raven last year. In the end, Project Raven went to the other place. We still don't know what that other place is because they haven't announced yet. But we've come close in the last year with 2 large projects like that. So, you know, we continue to work on the property, the work on the rail crossing continues. We're working with Economic Development Corporation of Utah, has a marketing program called Site Ready Utah, where they will come in, do due diligence work, put all of that upfront information together and do a better job of marketing properties to projects. And this is a site that will be part of that initiative. So,
And the biggest hurdle we are seeing right now is the Utah labor market and our unemployment rate.
yep.
If you look at our unemployment rate right now, when we ask everybody for feedback at the end, they say, we're worried about finding workers to do the
We're
work.
not sure they could find enough workers here. What we tell them is, look, there are 4,000 people who commute from Box Elder County to Salt Lake County every day for work. It's reasonable to think this was 220 jobs with the salaries, high paying jobs. We thought it was reasonable to say you could market to those 4,000 people and find 220 that would say, I'd rather work 10 minutes from home than an hour in Davis County traffic from home. But that didn't win the day. So, you know, it's a good problem to have. Low unemployment is not, given the alternative, it's not a bad problem to have. Project area number 1, this was the original 1978, our downtown project area was created. There were a number of downtown revitalization efforts that were accomplished through this. The budget expired in 2013. We did a new budget that only encompasses 1 block of the project area. It's the block that has the Hampton Inn Hotel. And the tax increment from that block is used to help offset some of the costs of the rehabilitation of the Academy building. This is another one. You can see the school district currently gets about $5,700 a year in tax increment based on the base year value. When this project area expires, that'll bump up to between 75 and 80,000 a year.
So.
Yeah.
So it was originally in 78, 20 years.
In 78, it was set up actually with, I believe, a 25-year term. And then laws have changed over the years. At some point, there was the legislature actually, when they changed the Redevelopment Act, they said, okay, the project areas that were established before a certain date, we're going to tack on another 5 years to that budget. So I think this ended up actually being something like a 30-year budget. But that expired. And then in 2013, we did a new budget under interlocal agreements, but only affecting that 1 block. So the rest of the project area is on the tax rolls. The school district is receiving all of the tax revenue that Smith's produces, for example, all of those other blocks.
So when you guys did the budget in 2013, did you come to the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That was interlocal agreements.
And how much was it spent in the years?
20 years, 20-year term, 100%. West Forest Economic Development Project Area. This is another one that was created in 2005. Originally had a 7-year term, 100% tax increment. That budget expired in 2015. In 2018, there was a new budget adopted that facilitated the Niagara bottling plant. Under that one, it's a 15-year term. 95% of increment is paid to the agency. These are the statistics on Niagara bottling. I believe that's actually a low number, 45 million. 44 jobs, 45 million capital investment. There is potential to expand to 75 jobs by adding another bottling line in the existing building. The school district currently receives about 131,000 a year from this project area. At expiration, and again, this is based on just what we know today, the school district would receive about 446,000 a year from this project area.
We have tried to project depreciation of equipment and all those things for those numbers for
So
sure.
when you're projecting out like that, it's always a bit of a guessing game. The West Forest redevelopment project area was created in 2005. It's a blighted area, 2 landfills. At the time, there were other blighted properties. There has been no budget adopted or triggered for this project area, and our intent is actually to terminate the project area. So there will not be any tax increment involved in this project area. Let's see. X20 Economic Development Project area is up at the north end of town, the old X20 building that was a Thiokol building back in the day. This is 900 north here, highway going towards Honeyville. The budget was adopted in 2009 with a 15-year term, 100% of increment paid to the agency. We've put money into rehabilitating the building, and there is a project currently considering that building that would provide about 100 jobs. No decision made yet, final decision, but it is very close to a decision. The school district right now receives about $37,000 a year from this project area. At expiration, which 2023 is the expiration date, should start producing about $243,000 a year in tax revenue to the district. And that is everything. So if there's questions, we can, that's kind of a fast run through of what we have.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting that. I didn't know if there were so many project areas.
Yeah.
It's good to know details on them. So I would like a copy of that so I
Yeah,
can go back.
we will get that.
Because I don't remember.
And again, this is the map that shows you
Yeah.
how those are distributed. This is, West Forest is here. This is the one, the RDA that would be terminated, no tax increment being generated. The airport EDA, again, no tax increment coming from there. The 1100 South CDA, the school district is not participating there. So those are, anyway, that gives you a good idea of how they're distributed.
Are there any
Oh,
other questions?
I'm wondering, when you send that to us on each one of those, can you put when the termination date is? I think you had it on some, but.
Some of them I did, yeah. Yeah. I put that on. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Very comprehensive.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we have Allison Williams. I don't know you want to give me. Yes, we're going to go to our Select Health Grant to the BESD Foundation and our foundation report. And I know we have a couple of other representatives from the foundation here. Preston Checkett. That's it, President Checkett. That's how I know you. And Clyde Wolgamuth. So if Allison, yeah, Gary.
Really, can I just introduce them?
Please
and get
do,
this
yes.
going, and I will turn it over to Allison. So I serve as the executive director of the foundation. Allison is my assistant, who is amazing. And then the real work gets done by the 3 people over here. We have Preston Checkett, Clyde Wolgamuth, and Trudy Hatch. And they serve on our executive board. And tell you, a couple of years ago, the foundation just made a real push that we needed to get some new leadership. We needed to get some energy and some vision on where we wanted to take the foundation. And I would just compliment Preston, who has just taken this on and been amazing. So what we're sharing with you today is one of the goals that we had as a foundation was that we really felt we needed to identify our causes, or what we were a foundation, why we really existed, and some of the things that we needed to do. One of those, we do fundraise. We have a variety of things. The two biggest ones we do are the Box Elder golf tournament. One example of the power of this group is we've always just felt we had to go out to Tremont and Skyway, and we just felt we couldn't approach the Brigham course. And through a gentleman on our foundation, he reached out to the Brigham course, and so now we have both. We have both ends. We have done an ATV ride. We've always just relied on Frank May in Honeyville. He's been an amazing sponsor. We've had such support from Tremont as well that we added Golden Spike Power Sports, and we now have Tremont and Brigham. So we have been able to join both communities and fundraise. And then what you'll see today is just an amazing example of our work, and that's with our food pantries. And so Allison wrote the grant. We flipped a coin to who was going to get interviewed and participate in this. I gave her a two-headed coin, and she was gracious enough to do this, and she did an amazing job. So I would just like to recognize, I don't know the order we want to do this, but we asked Clyde to be here today just to explain some things as his role about the foundation. And then Allison will introduce the grant that we received. And so that's kind of our purpose today, but thank you. Just want to make sure that our three got the proper introductions that are on over there. So thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Speaking of going back years ago, Gary and I both are Foothill graduates. He's a year younger than me.
Thanks, bud.
I didn't tell you how old I was. Hey, it's great to be here tonight with all of you and the Board of Education. When I was getting ready to come down here, I thought, what tie can I wear that represents the foundation board members?
Thanks.
Hopefully you can see this, but I get the pleasure to serve with Preston and Trudy and Allison and Gary and Rod and Wade and Steve and many others. But I chose my Sesame Street tie. Now, the real reason I chose this was what is today. November 10th of 69, 52 years ago, Sesame Street debuted.
Oh.
It's taught our kids and all of us a lot of things. I actually didn't know that till I heard it on the radio when I was waking up this morning. Well, okay, so tonight I wanted to say, what is the Box Elder School District Foundation? How many of you ever heard of it? You can raise your hands if you have. Well, I hadn't, and I hate to own up to that, but about 2 years ago, Marcy Hatch pulled in my driveway and asked me if I would be a part of the Box Elder School District Foundation. And of course, I had to ask what it was. And I thought, okay, I'm already on the Brigham City Recreation and Parks Commission. I'm already on Members First Credit Union Board, amongst many other things. And I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a try. Well, I'm glad I did. You can see the caliber of people that I get to work with on the foundation, and what a pleasure it is. All right, so the next thing that happened, I showed up to one of our meetings and I related this story, and I opened my big mouth, and Preston, as president, said, well, Clyde, we need a publicity committee. Then you would be perfect to be over that and get the word out. And I said, okay, we're going to do what we can. Well, we decided we needed to put our logo on golf shirts as well as t-shirts, and we have them both, and those are available for people that participate in our tournaments, our ATV rides, make donations. whatever. We want to get our symbol out and the shirt out, let people know who we are. Who we are, what we do, why we do it, where we do it, how we do it. Just a number of things that I've learned about the foundation that I had no idea. And as Gary mentioned, we do the fundraising, we do scholarships, we do the clinicians at our concerts and things like that. And I said, okay, we've got to get this out on social media. We got to use the newspaper. We got to do anything we can. And here's a great example. I was sitting at one of our board meetings and I was told that Wayne and Pat Hunsaker had made a sizable donation to the foundation for the nursing scholarship. I thought, whoa, that's my wife's aunt and uncle, Hunsaker side. And I thought, there's a perfect example then of somebody who's donated that we can make a big deal out. And from then on, we've tried to take pictures of everyone who's donated and get some publicity out of it. And in speaking with Wayne Hunsaker about this, he let me know that he was an original member of the foundation back in 1984 when it was started. And Morgan Hawks was the superintendent then, or whatever. So it's just amazing how things tie together. Well, okay, I've carried on long enough here. You can see my excitement for the foundation and to be a part of it. That's wonderful. Allison's the star here tonight, and if we could dim the lights, is that possible so we can get a better viewing of her? The video is made from, we made it from Select Health, and Allison's the one that did all the legwork to write the grant, submittal, and then submit it. And we won it. It was for $5 grand or $7 grand. One of the four. But we used it to buy mouse-proof cabinets to put in the schools to hold our pantry packs. Now, what's a pantry pack? Well, we learned that some of our kids are going home hungry on Fridays. We're not hungry on Friday, but hungry through the week. So we have now stuffed those pantry packs with 6 meals and 3 snacks. And they're welcome to pick one up on their way home on Fridays and take it home so they have food through the week. You know, I've had my eyes open to a lot of things, so this has been wonderful. Okay, we'll close with saving the best for last. Allison, anything you'd like to preface? Not that, Allison.
Well, I just wanted to say that we built this at Young Intermediate School, and the counselors and the Hope Squad were our actors. And Select Health did a great job in helping us to promote what we're trying to accomplish here. I think the hardest thing, you know, like Clyde said, is getting our logo out there, getting our cause out there so that people understand what we're trying to do. And so part of the Select Health grant that we received was to provide promotional materials. And so this sign that's behind Gary right here was one of them that we received through the grant. And so we're going to use that at all of our events. And then this video is another example of what they donated to us as part of the grant. So you'll see some cute kids on there. It took about 3 hours to do, and they condensed it down to just a 2-minute short video. So enjoy.
I present you with the plaque, President Taylor.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. For our contribution to the community.
Thank you. Yes, okay.
Okay, enjoy the video.
Food insecurity in our community is really hidden. Kids don't want to look different than someone else. And so I think that's one of our challenges, is to let them know that there's no questions asked, there's no judging, that this is there for the taking. The Bob Seller Foundation works behind the scenes to help provide things that maybe regular funding can't. An example of that is our food pantries. 25% of our students in Box Elder School District are food insecure. And we have everything from farmers to factory workers and everything in between. And to see that many who are food insecure is really scary to us. That's why we came up with the idea to do the school food pantries to help those students be able to have that security. We have some pantries in our school where they can go and get the items that they choose to take home with them for the weekend. If they come to us during the week, of course, we're going to fulfill those needs as well. If we can help them get the food they need, you just watch them bloom in front of you. You just watch them blossom. They develop confidence and they're a lot happier because they feel better. Our pantries fulfill more than just the need of food. We have extra clothes, we have school supplies and backpacks. We gave a set of clothes that were modern clothes to one of our students, and he wore them every day, on them for a month. And he had a big smile on his face, and it's just beautiful to see that one little thing can make someone so happy. The biggest issue that the foundation has, I guess, is getting the word out that we have these resources available. I think the more people that know that who might be struggling, the easier it is for them to get that help. These kids are so amazing and they have so much within them that we have no idea what they're doing. And if there's one thing we can do to help improve their lives, it's worth it.
Wow, that was great. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your work on the foundation. Thank you for the difference you're making, and keep up the good work. I think it sounds like we've got a great board and invested and dedicated people, so.
Could we ask Preston just to make some final comment,
Yeah.
please?
Make some final comments.
Preston is the current president, implies the president-elect, correct?
Well, I think the key that we have struck is we're not doing a very good job of telling people what we do. Seeing the thing that we tried to do, and there are a lot of good people who have expanded our income. We're to the point now we're very fluent. We're looking for additional scholarships that we want to fund, as well as these food pantries that we have. It's just great to work with these people. I think we had the best board meeting I have ever attended last Wednesday. The group literally exploded with ideas, what we could do and how we could improve. So I just want to thank our board members, the superintendent for his great support, and this district staff. They come out and they're involved in golf tournaments. Tiffany out there with us representing the board, Wade is involved, and so your board members are also included. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
As well, they did mention Wade, but he is a representative of the board on that foundation. And then also Marcy Hatch, the superintendent's secretary, my secretary, is the secretary for the foundation. And Rod's also on there. He does every board meeting, he gives us the budget rundown, much like we get it at all of our board meetings. And so there's a lot of support that goes on here, and there is a real enthusiasm, and it's been really fun to be part of that. So thank you all for what you do.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Hey, Tiffany, quick question. What can we do to spread the word? I mean, I post that video on my social media. What can we do to promote the foundation, and how can we help? And anytime I can ride in a golf cart with Trudy, I'm there. It was a fun day, but really, if there are things that you can email us that we can get out there for you, please let us help.
Well, I guess my comment would be, if you hear anything as a board, the thing we tried to say to the community is, we perhaps are the frosting on the cake. You folks are the cake, but there's some things that are happening. For instance, rocket launch, equipment that we're looking for, some of the STEM things that are not funded to the district that we're trying to raise money for. So if you hear some things as a board that are some of that frosting that you can't fund, get it to the superintendent. We'll come back. One of the things we did not mention, and I don't know how many, Allison, we're funding something like 35 different separate little small teacher projects, all the way from rocket launch to fine arts to
First flights.
First flight. That one really is exciting. We help finance the first airplane flight, along with the instructors out here at the airport. for the individuals once they pass the test for their private driver's license. And that is great industry. So anyways, if you hear things, give it to the superintendent. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, well, that's good to hear. I like those things. Okay, we're going to move on to our monthly financial report. We just heard the audit, so more finance stuff.
More finance stuff. Yahoo.
Favorite part.
We just keep spending the money,
Thank you for being here.
which really means we're about our operations and it's going well. We have still some areas where
Interrupt you just a second. For Melanie, Lisa, I just wanted to say thank you for donating the tickets for us all to be able to go to Montana.
Oh, yeah.
It was wonderful. Melanie. I just wanted to say thank you before you left for giving us all the opportunity to go see Mamma Mia.
Well, I wanted to see Sean. She's a big.
She was amazing. It was so good. And my 8th grade boy, I forced him to go. He came home. We've been listening to Abbott music all week, so I didn't make fun of it. Just had to make him get there. So.
And thank you for all the students that you got involved. I would have liked changing the experience of this one. Sorry, Rod.
no, that's fine. I went the other Monday night. Fantastic. ESSER funds, it's not always easy to determine where they're spent. And so, one of the first line you see there, that's in yellow are ESSER funds that I had not anticipated. Down on that same page, our property insurance was increasing, and it increased more than I budgeted for there too. As you can see, it's a fairly significant increase. All costs are going up, as we all know from our personal budgets. I kind of plan to spend half of bus funds out of capital, but we may need that money in capital, so I may re-budget and keep it in capital. We'll see how that goes. Down on page, let's see, that was on page 3. And then down on page 6, when I did the budget, I didn't know where the turf was going to be, but we have turf was installed, obviously, but that money's been spent. I didn't budget for it though. And then we spent some money for down on page 7. We spent some money for lunch equipment and lunch tables. We've added some tables to try to spread kids out a little bit in our elementary schools because of COVID. And that's basically the report. We're still well within budgets. Things are looking good. We're trying to get set up and ready to spend the last part of ESSER, the ESSER 3 funds. And that's going to be huge. Huge, $7.2 million. And we have to have it spent by 2024. So.
And is that level we had the meetings talked about?
Yep.
And so have we spent ESSER 2 funds now so we can get into those or not?
Yeah, our goal is to have ESSER 2 funds all spent by the end of December, because we can't spend ESSER 3 funds till ESSER 2 funds are all spent. So.
Wow. Okay.
It's hard work to spend money.
Problems to have. But when they give you certain ways to spend it, sometimes it is.
Yeah, when there's strings attached and they want you to do something. That's all I.
Okay, are there any questions? Rod? Okay. Thank you. All right. So the next item on our agenda is our board committee reports, and that we've just added that. So if there has been a committee meeting, like we always do the policies, and so we don't really do that. But if there's been a committee meeting where people would like to present and give us an update on your committees that you serve on, this is the time that we do that. So
I'm on the foundation
Yeah.
committee and the audit committee, and they both did a really good job.
they did your yeah.
I'm on all the committees, I guess, but we're going to try to, in a very short time, the next 2 or 3 weeks, to put together a long-term capital outlay committee. So we can just review some of our goals and 5-year and even our short-term plan. And I've been asked to make a presentation to Tremont City Council with some of that information about how the district is anticipating growth. And, with all the growth, we do have a good plan in place. And I think when we meet with that long-term capital outlay committee, that will be helpful. I believe that committee is made up of Connie, Nancy, and Julie. Okay. And so we'll be reaching out to you folks shortly, and then probably I'll see if Corey can go, and maybe Rod, and we'll go visit Tremont City Council in the next couple of weeks. Talk about, some things we have. And as you saw in tonight's audit, as the auditor reported, Rod well knows that our bond is paid off in 2030 is what he said, correct? And so we don't really have,
The last payment is July of 2029, but it's our 2030.
Year,
Very fiscal year.
And so, we do have some plans in place. We were planning on doing some big things with another bond at that time, but in the short term, considering growth, we need to really have some plans in place just in case. With the report that Keith Minkin made last month, we did see, however, our kindergarten and our first grades are still staying steady with that high 800s, and our big bubble is the 9th and 10th grade of over 1,000 kids, and then our junior and our seniors go back down to 100. So right now, even with all the growth in our county, we still haven't seen students come through the doors yet.
Popular, but not.
Yeah, very good. So we'll work on that committee here shortly.
Thank you. Are there any other committees that have met that I've forgotten about? Didn't vote. Okay. Superintendent, do you want to talk about this USB nomination letter?
You bet. We're very.
Okay, I'm sorry. COVID-19.
COVID-19.
Sorry, you get to that one too.
Okay. Well, we're pretty much in the same place that we've been, since the start of school. We talked about this last month. Our Bear River Health Department region decided to do a test to stay in the classroom, and they put that forward, and our county commissioners supported that. It will come to a close on November 20th, but in the meantime, if there's 3 students in the classroom that have COVID, then we have a test to stay to try to be as intervention is what the thought was, to try to keep away from that number of 20 in the building. It was 20, right? And that 20 number though is adults and students. And so up until there was we do have, shortage of substitutes, but we also, we have, our teachers work with the information that they teach on. Put your information on campus, and we found luckily that one of the many great side effects, other than just having great education, collaborative teams through our professional learning communities, is that quite often one of the people on a team will be the expert or have expertise in putting that the work on campus, and they help each other out a lot. And so that's one of the great things about it. So
right now, it seems like we've been holding steady. It seems like through the last month or so, you're all aware that, I believe it was last week that they approved shot, the COVID vaccination shot for 5-year-olds. That has a connection with which at that young of an age and coming to our schools was one of the impetus of doing that. And so we felt like that would be best. They just did it at the health department. And so I think that hopefully this thing will start going downhill. I notice every day I get the KSL report. We have usually anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 new cases in the state. And so hopefully it will start to subside when that is.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
Thomas, Brian?
I don't know if this is a fair question, but 20,000 foot level, you know, we've seen surges across the country in Utah. What's your gut feel for Box Elder School District? Are we kind of staying steady?
You know, I think our numbers have actually gone down. We just have one school that had double-digit numbers this past week, and the rest of them had single-digit numbers. And prior to that, we've had 2 or 3 schools that did have, you know, in the teens. I don't think we've ever got to the 20s quite yet. We're not quite got there. So
Foothill once got close,
really close. And so
before fall break.
So it does seem to me, as I look at it each week, that we are tapering off a little bit, but you know, now that it's the last 2 or 3 weeks, it has gotten colder, of course, and we start staying in more, and we all know that's the cold and flu season anyway. So, but our hope is that, you know, the number of people vaccinated and number of people who've had it, that it slowly will hopefully fast trickle down, but we know they slowly will.
I might add this, Brian, to your comment that we also see a decrease in how many people are getting tested. So there's sort of an assumption that numbers are steady, but not everybody's just running out there to get tested. So we've been pretty consistent, really. If you look at our, you know, I change the data. I try to do it every day, but every couple of days I'll track everybody. You know, we haven't really been students and staff over 80 was like the high. We're generally around 60 with 10 staff out and 50 students out, and they're about split 25 or 50-50 with secondary and elementary.
And I'm sure you thought of this, but using ESSER funds to maybe temporarily hire some aides to help teachers with stuff on Canvas.
Well, right now, we have 8 position openings that we can't fill just for our regulars. So that is the problem. Yeah. So there's just not people out there that are looking to work.
We have done a little background look on how many of our subs work between 1 and 5 days a month, 6 to 10 days a month, 11 to 15 days a month. You know, there are districts around that have tried to say, okay, if we could nudge them to the next number, and maybe 5 is too big of a jump. But we have that data, and now we could put a number, a math or a financial number to it. And could that be, or is this here to stay forever? You know, are we ever going to get down to where that sub is going to get bigger? You know, we've got things we've got to try. And anyway, we have the data now to do it, and I think we could be prepared, and superintendent certainly could speak to what our plans are, maybe using some extra funds to build that up. So
I think what Keith was saying is in a 20-day period, if somebody subs for us 5 days, we'd give a $50 bonus. They sub up to 10 days, we give 100. You know, just trying to find a way to incentivize.
And 20 is usually, that's how many days we have a week, or generally we're 19, 20, 21 a month. So if someone's working over 15, I mean, they're subbing almost every day of the month. But we have about 59 people in our sub pool that sub 5 or less. If we could convince 59 people to go to 8, go to 10, maybe, and not everybody's motivated by money. You know, there's still a time issue, there's still a convenience and a location issue. I really like my school, and that's where I'll go, but I'm not going to that school. Yeah.
Question, how many of those substitutes are retired school teachers from our district?
Not very many. I will state that just per Utah retirement rules, you have to usually sit out a year or you get deemed with a 17,000 maximum how much you can earn. Usually a teacher who's given their whole heart and soul to the profession and they sit out a year, they're going someplace else. However, I'm not saying that we don't have people, I mean, they'll come back and volunteer, they'll be a part of it, but we don't really have that person's not really. We sometimes on emergency cases where we need emergency hires, we can sometimes sneak them back for a trimester maybe, but generally not to be a substitute. Really good question.
Okay, well, now let's move on to back to you,
Okay, well, you'll notice on, we have F6 as a USBA, Utah School Board Association nomination letter. And about 6 weeks ago, Wade came and talked to me, and he'd been pondering the thought of possibly running for the Utah School Board Association leadership. And as many of you know, they have a vice president, president, and past president, correct? Is that how that works?
Vice President, President-elect.
Okay, Vice President, President-elect. So you're in 4 years, 4-year commitment. And Wade has already served on the USBA Board of Directors, which is the board that, you know, that works with that group. So he's well aware of what it entails, and they need a nomination letter. And so Wade asked me to write that, and I put that together. It is on your agenda, but I'd like to take just a minute and read it. And even though it's from the board, I interject myself as the superintendent too. So dear Utah School Board Association, the Box Elder School District, BESD Board of Education is excited to support and present BESD Board Member Wade Hyde to run for Vice President of the Utah School Board Association. Wade has been involved in education for the past 43 years. Most recently, he has been a BESD Board Member for 7 years. He has served as BESD Board Vice President and BESD Board President, and also served on the USBA Board of Directors for 2 years. All of this has been in his so-called retirement. Wade was a member of the BESD education family for 37 years. After receiving his elementary education degree from Weimar State University, he taught elementary school for 6 years and then decided he was interested in school administration. After obtaining his master's degree in school administration from Utah State University, he started a long journey of being an elementary principal. Wade has had a vast amount of experience in leading very small elementary schools all the way up to being the principal of much bigger elementary schools. During the recession, when the budget cuts were necessary, Wade was asked to be the principal of 2 different elementary schools each year for 2 years. As the superintendent who has now been in BSD for 5 years, I constantly hear stories of how kind and effective he was as he helped those schools and school children be successful. A main theme you will hear about Wade is his extreme kindness and his sense of fairness for all involved. As a BESD board member, Wade is extremely conscientious about doing what is best for kids while following and abiding by state and local policies. When I first came to BESD, Wade was the president of the board. I learned quickly that Wade was extremely prepared and valued knowing what to expect at board meetings and what he was going on in the school district. He worked very closely with Dr. Ron Tolman, BESD's former superintendent, to develop the BESD Board of Education Handbook. It was well written, and we refer to this handbook on a regular basis. While he was serving on the USB Board of Directors, he and I made a presentation on the BESD Board of Education Handbook to the new school board members workshop. I really enjoyed working with Wade as we prepared to make this presentation. I felt the presentation was well received, and we had several boards of education that reached out and asked us for electronic versions so they could adopt a board handbook for their school boards. Personally, Wade is married to Lori Hyde and have 2 children, Sadie and Cade. Lori is a retired teacher from BSD and his daughter Sadie currently teaches school at Harris Intermediate School in BSD. Education runs deep and is valued in the Hyde household. Yet, as busy as the school board job is, Wade and Lori are able to get off to many fun vacations. I know Disneyland is one of this fun couple's favorite places to go. Wade has taken a lot of time to decide to run for this position, and I know he will take this very seriously and do a great job for this great state. Sincerely, the Box Elder School District Board of Education. And on this letter, we have a place for all of us to sign. And he's talked to Richard Stoll, the executive director of USBA, and we're going to try to get this signed. And we've tried to get hold of Nancy, but she's incommunicado. She's out of, I don't know if she's out of the nation or she's in some island or whatever. And so we do have a stamp of hers that we're going to put on there and hope that she agrees, but we're hopeful that you will all happily sign this. And I'm excited that we'll have Wade and at the school board convention in January 6th, 7th, and 8th, I believe. Is that the dates? One of those days, we'll have an opportunity to vote for Wade, and we'll hear his nomination speech and get to be all part of that fun time. So very excited to present here.
Superintendent, I just want to thank you for that very nice letter. It's very, very nice, and I do appreciate it. And I appreciate every member of our board. Thank you for helping me out with this. It will be a fun journey, and we'll just see where it takes us, and hopefully it'll all be good. But I may be asking you to do some things at the conference, handing out candy bars or doing something. But anyway, I do appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you being willing to run and do this. It's a big job, and I'm like, we need our marketing people to get Clyde Golden back here to give us some ideas. How can we promote you? So I'm excited for you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our policy review. So we have lots of policies on first and second reading. Are there any questions on first reading?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Policy 53. I read it, it looked like an incomplete sentence. And kindness.
Attendance compulsory.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa. All right.
So like the red parts
on.
50-30.
50-30 is only A.
Oh, well, then let's go to 50-30. Sorry. I've switched glasses. I have my long range glasses, my close range, and that was not working out well.
School fees have at least 20 pages.
But it's it wasn't being big, except some of it wasn't.
It was that the red part was except.
Yeah,
that one
that-
sentence.
Isn't that an incomplete sentence? I guess that's what it is.
Except for the period between March 17th,
There
2021.
probably needs to be a comma and then except for the period between, like, yeah.
Because I got all the subject in there.
Yeah,
Am I
I can see that. Yeah. Let me write that down. We'll go in and put a comma in there and drop the apple.
That's it.
Is that it?
50, yeah, 50-30, except for the period between March 17th and there's no subject. So that-
Okay.
And that was it.
That was it. Okay. Thank you for catching that.
Good eyes.
Are there any other questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve this evening all those policies on first reading.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to approve all policies on first reading by Connie Archibald, second by Brian Smith. We're going to make that correction on that one to do that. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's move on to second reading.
Motion we pass the policies on second reading.
I second that.
So we have a motion by Karen Cronin and a second by Wade Hyde to pass policies on second reading. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those are passed. Let's move on to our board discussion items. So we are doing our book study on time to change, which is dealing with our PLC process and how we can. Down here. I sent out an email earlier to the board this week. Asking them to consider a couple of questions as we read these chapters, and if I can. So the first off, these two chapters are dealing with, the first one is establishing trust. And this is what we're talking about when we're working with our professional learning communities. What do we need to do to make them work? How do we get them to be a, what's the word?
Well-functioning.
Well-functioning, thank you. Efficient, effective, well-functioning. And so the chapter 3 was on establishing trust. And the question I had the board consider was, what types of strategies would you use to stay fully engaged, process concerns, and remain from giving personal opinions or rebuttals as we're working in PLCs. And then the chapter 4 was making a functional investment, building capacity. And the question that we were to, I didn't highlight that question. Which one? What
How would you build momentum towards collectively addressing shared challenges?
Okay, so that was so as we're talking about this, that was kind of like our focus as we were reading these things. So as we go through this, we want this to be kind of a discussion, but we don't want it to take all night. So we just want it to, what did we get out of this? And not only, is this is what our schools are doing, and our learning teams at each school, the grade levels and the departments are doing this, but we're also trying to apply it to us as a board. What can we do? How can we apply this in what we're doing? So I'm just going to kind of open it with, if anybody has a comment on chapter 3, that question that we talked about. Hi.
Okay, I felt like chapter 3 had a great deal to do with having empathy. And on page 47, it gives a little snippet there about how important empathy is, and it's the ability to recognize and share other people's feelings. It's the most important instrument in the leader's toolbox. And that maybe something that you could say to somebody that you know is struggling, and this is something that I spent a lot of time doing over the last month based on teachers that addressed us as a board last time. I spent a lot of time, as much as I could, talking to teachers and asking, not necessarily is everything okay, which is suggested here, but how are you doing? Same thing, right? And how is your classroom doing, or how are you doing as a teacher? How are you managing through this difficult time? And then I just listened. And it was good for me because there are some difficult things going on, but many teachers, the ones I talked to, was only about a dozen, but they're doing very well.
It's good to hear.
They feel like they're doing very well. And so I think it's good to ask questions to our teachers. The other thought that came to my mind when I read through this is that we need to meet teachers where they are. And, of course, listen, because everyone's on a different level, but I think it's important to listen with empathy for sure. But sometimes I have a difficult time being empathetic, especially if I think something is not being reflected in a truthful way. I have a hard time being empathetic when things aren't, in my view, from my viewpoint, if they're not honest. I have a really hard time being empathetic. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I think that's.
Julie, can I just say something?
Yes, go ahead, Wade. Yes.
As well. It was interesting, the first year that I was principal when the PLCs came about the first year. And I found that teachers were so nervous and scared because that was really the first time that people were able to see their scores, and see other teachers' scores and the principal. want to say everything, and even the community. It was very stressful. It was very stressful. Now, as a principal, I needed to show more empathy and just say, hey, you can do this. I felt like I was a cheerleader almost. That you can do this. It's not going to be as bad as you think. And you know, as the year went on, they got better at it, easier at it. And they see things they can do. And everybody tries, of course, work together to help one another. It turned out to be really big. So, so they can all be citizens.
Thank you.
Can I add to that conversation?
Yes, thank you.
Because on page 47, he kind of outlines those, but I just think it's really important, like she mentioned, that we're empathetic, but that we share that genuine concern. Everyone's concern is their concern and what's their reality and their perception of their reality. And so making sure we validate people's concerns, but we can't let them stay there. And being able to help them work through, like, what are some possibilities? What are ways we can help you move forward? If it's a team, if it's a personal, like I just found that helping, always trying not to, I talked about being listening without rebuttal, without interrupting, without listening to inform someone, but sincerely, genuinely listening and validating their concern. And then how can I help you? And what are some ideas? And let's brainstorm some things that we possibly could do to move forward so that we don't leave someone in this place, but possibly get, together collectively. I mean, that means a lot to someone. You don't leave someone's presence feeling dumb, not important, not heard. They were listening to quickly try to, if that's.
I'm just trying to fix my problem.
Exactly. So, and I don't think how many times do we hate that? Like, we don't want someone to fix it. We just need someone to listen to you, and then but we don't want to leave them there. Like, you can't stay there if you're not going to progress and move forward. So I see there's a fine line of really being I think I use the word more of a listener, but they describe it here as genuine concern, but really important to validate. And I was thinking about that today when I was reviewing all this in light of where our teachers are, but I think it's important that we listen and validate. But I think it's good for our principals, like Steve gave them that charge yesterday, to come up with what are ways that we can help this situation move forward so that they're not just stuck in this, it's yucky and it's, you just get stuck in that and then you just spin wheels, like you're just stuck in the mud in this rut. But being able to brainstorm with your faculties, what are ways that would really help you as a person be able to get up out of this? What would be some different things and brainstorm with schools? And that can help us all move forward if we get their collective ideas.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things with this time to change, like it is like Wade said with the PLC. I mean, that would be a scary prospect as a teacher. You're in this classroom and you're expected to do these things. And I think we're kind of that same thing in this pandemic. We're expecting some different things. And I think that I think that empathy and listening goes a long way. It doesn't solve all the problems, but if someone's by your side and helping you along, I think it does go a long way.
And some, back in the day, they just didn't really know what to do because it was so new. But I know the district is so good that we were able to take teachers to other schools to see other teachers and how they did it. And once they could visually see it, that really did help them to go back and starting point where they could do better. So there were a lot of really good things that happened. And still
happening, yes. Are there any other comments on chapter 3 in that?
I just thought it was very wise how it said that as you put new people into leadership positions, you got to give them time to earn that trust. And it's important for them to understand that, like I said, there's a difference between trust and likability. And it's probably better to earn the trust than just to go for the likability.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Thank you.
I was interested in the trust factor too, and the superintendent's conference one year, we actually had a training on the speed of trust. And there's a book by Stephen M. Covey, Stephen R. Covey's son. And the speed of trust is unbelievable. When people trust each other and you get a good thing going on, especially in a building, I see it as a building with the trust between the principal, the leadership team, the teachers, that trust really gets things done. When there's not trust, it just puts you in the mire and slows things down. And so building that trust is huge, and you have to spend some time building the trust and, show you're competent and show that you're caring and show that you be trustworthy about what you're trying to get forward. So I think
that trust is huge. And as we watch, you know, as I watch different principals, how they work with their staffs, you can see the trust and how that really helps that building go forward with their efforts to, you know, reach high levels of learning for all students. And so to me, trust is huge.
Okay, did anybody have any thoughts on chapter 4? We don't have to discuss it. If we just want to stick with that, that's fine. But if there was some burning desire to. Yes, Gary.
On page 64, I thought this, I've seen this before and just reflected on it, but at the very bottom it says, often when a consultant comes into a building, they ask, where's your staff at? They try and get some pre-information. And it says, often the response is, our staff already knows the basics, so feel free to take them to the next level. And then it says, and once we begin interacting with participants, we discovered that the leader's assessment was more assumption than fact. And then he goes on to talk about, we really need to make sure they have the knowledge and the skills and the everything in place to move forward and not make that assumption. Yeah.
For sure. That's a good point. Thank you.
It was reiterated over and over in this chapter, the why and the how, and we've talked to our principals extensively about that, like, that they feel confident. In our meetings yesterday, we were discussing CFAs and reviewing that and showing them different sections of the learning by doing. But if I don't know as an administrator how to address certain situations, there's a place you can go.
Yeah.
Because you've got to build your capacity and understand your why, what you're asking your people to do, and then you've got to show them how to do it.
Yeah.
Because when you don't, then like they mentioned in here, people get frustrated, they get upset, they kind of get their ill man, they start to complain about things. So it was brought up several times.
Yeah.
The why is important, and I wait.
I just figured out, like, toward the end, like, it's on the tabs. the who and the how, and I was like, oh, that's what it's about. I'm a little slow on that tape, but that's, there you go. Okay, anybody else have comments?
Julia, just one
Yeah.
thing. I think this is so important. Since parents do not work in the schools and see each other on a daily basis, they may not have the opportunities to build relationships. You know, to build relationships with teachers and with the school itself. And, you know, seeing our principals participate, so many wonderful things to get home visits, all those things. And I've heard teachers, you know, they send postcards, they send letters, they send emails, texts, whatever, to get the parents involved. Because you always have the parents that are like in the PTA and everything that know what's going on. There's the other parents that make sure they're part of the program.
Yeah. So our next, we're going to finish. Okay, so you want to talk? Do you have anything to say, Sean?
Well, nothing that really has been said already. It was about chapter 3. I wrote down, obviously I don't really know what it's like to be a principal or teacher, but I just wrote down several things. Eye contact and repeating back what they say goes a long way if you're looking at them and not the clock. That's what I do a lot. But you know, both my parents are teachers and I'm very close with my teachers, and it's not a job you just leave at your workplace at all. So just connecting with them on that personal level and even saying like, hey, remember, like I was a teacher too once, or if you weren't, who knows? But yeah, that's just basically what I would. That's what I would.
Thank you for contributing. Okay, next month we're going to do chapters 5 and 6. Is that the end of it? Yeah, we're going to finish this book in December. So if you have a suggestion for a question that you'd like to focus on, please email me. Are there any questions?
Move we approve the consent items.
Second that motion.
Motion by Brian Smith and a second by Connie Archibald to approve our consent items. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Any suggestions for future board meetings? We have some that are listed on there as is. So
Did you
say that we've kind of given principals and administration a task to brainstorm and address some of the immediate issues.
You guys, we'll do that. I'm assuming that we meet the day before that's generally when we have our principals meeting. Is that on the 7th?
Yeah. Of
So
November.
we can
meet
have
on
them
9th.
reach back.
We don't
emails.
meet next month until.
Oh, that's right. I'll find a way to get information. We'll reach out to them and make good sure that we can take care of that.
Julie, I don't know how we do this. We talked a little bit about how we formalize
Yeah.
a long-term. Maybe I would like to participate.
You'd like to participate. Okay, so let's, that's a really good, so it's been our, whatever that called, the community engagement committee. So currently that is Karen, Tiffany, and I, we're on that community engagement committee, but I can certainly step off or let someone, because I know we can't have more than 3 board members on, or we can create a different committee. So I will talk about that a little bit to see what the best, because we were kind of talking about this month getting some
Yeah, we got
folks
that.
together. So
How about I zoom that up a little bit?
Might look here, but my eye.
work on that, and then and if you're interested in being on that, Brian, that would be great.
How often were you meeting?
It wasn't like a consistent time. We met 3 or 4 times, I would say, in the year and a half, but it wasn't like a every 3rd month 30 thing. So we could, I think if that's, I think this first meeting is kind of an exploratory meeting.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to get the feedback and gather that data, and then we're gonna have to make decisions and go from there where we want it to.
I read an article this week about schools that have tried to be more flexible in their schedules. And I'm sure that the administration has people that have researched that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Superintendent, if you have somebody that you'd recommend from the district that has researched some of that, you know, flexible schedules, thinking out of the box, because right now I think we're pretty rigid. I don't know if somebody's already done some work there or.
Well, we have, we've talked about, 0 hour and currently I guess it would be 7th hour.
Yeah.
And we're also, we just really, with our online school being based a lot around Edgenuity, we had a long talk with David Blake, who's our ed tech, our ed tech.
The tech specialist.
Tech specialist, that's the word I was looking for. He has done a lot of work, and it's interesting, but BYU Online, no religious affiliate, but they have BYU Online, which has really, really good courses. And I've kind of given him and Gary Allen to put together what we could do to have 24 credits online and to work with our teachers to either, pay them a stipend to have a class and or free up an hour during the day where they could have an online class. So that's one of the flexibility things we're looking at. So a student, could possibly, some of the ones right up front that we already are working on and things like health, fitness for life. It seems funny to have that online, but you can track, your activity, tell you what to do. Financial literacy, they're all semester classes, so they're very easy. But that's one of the things that we are talking about doing and trying to, get that going. And it would behoove us to have that sooner than later so we can ask teachers as we prepare a master schedule, would you be willing to work 0 or 7th hour and put that on the schedule? So somebody, a student could look at that and get, and teachers do a good job of, getting their word out. Hey, I'm going to be teaching this class, just 0 hour, 2nd try. And I need you guys to go fill that out so that, and that, and for the, that gets into, gets into transportation, the kid would have to be able to get there, and or be able to leave afterwards. So that's we can try. I think, things like pep band and maybe jazz band. Thank you.
Used to be pep band in the day, didn't it? Shows my age. Jazz band, I think they do have some 0 hours and there's a few others. So I think we can look at those types of things. Okay, be glad to.
And can I ask also, anything that's brought back, maybe Rod could get involved and see if we can fit the proposal into our budget, or how much additional money it'll cost, and prep time as well, to see how many additional hours.
Yeah.
If we need for.
Keith and Rod, you know, they is a pretty regular with that and
Yeah.
get that figured out. And that's, you know, that's the interesting thing with each schedule in the high school. It changes the length of the period. And when it changes the length of the period, it also changes the amount of prep time there is out there. Once the prep time goes up in a period, that means instruction time, there's just less instructors available. So that's where it just becomes more money. And so, you know, and as we mentioned, our mission statement is we ensure high levels of learning for all. And, you know, that's, you know, so is money the factor that's holding us from this? Well, there is the balance. If we use too much money to increase that, then we can't give our teachers the fair cost of living adjustment to keep us competitive in the market with Weber, Cash, and Ogden and Logan. And so that's something we always have to look at.
It is.
One of the, couple of the ideas that I read in this article, they had community involvement. They had a community that was taking the Friday, community come in and teach the kids on Friday and free up teachers for prep. They had high level students that were teaching, using students that were, you know, high academic, were maybe teaching elementary, things like that. So some really interesting things that maybe we could do that wouldn't cost us much.
Sure.
Okay, just some ideas.
Thank you. Maybe forward that if you have, you know, that online.
Yeah, I got it here. I'll forward
Okay,
it
thank
to everybody.
Be helpful.
Yeah, so if we can, will you get a date for that and let us know so Brian can be involved in that meeting and then we can decide among the three of us that are on that who can step off. I'd be happy to.
Okay.
And when we meet with all those people, because that's but I think the sooner the better with
Yeah.
that, and then we could just kind of lay the groundwork. So when we come.
Very good. Yeah.
Julie, I just had another idea for December. In years past, we've done something with our legislators just prior to they go into the legislative season.
I reached out to two of our legislators, Senator Sandel and Representative Ferry. I haven't been able to get a hold of Blake Moore, but both of them are actually in trainings out of state on our next board meeting.
So Blake Moore, he's federal, isn't he?
Oh, no, not, you're right. It's, no,
Go bigger.
who replaced Lee Perry?
No.
I'm sorry. Who replaced Lee Perry? Okay, we're trying to, you're right. I don't know how I got that. I know what you mean. So I'll reach out to him, but neither one of those two can be here on our board meeting today, but they did throw out some dates and they said December 13th or December 17th. 13th is a Monday, 17th is a Friday, and we could look at those dates. If you're interested, and it's a work session, we could have a work session and, you know, we do it around an evening meal.
Did you say the
13th or 17th. That is a Monday and a Friday, correct?
Yeah.
Would work better for me then.
Does that work for everybody? That's a Monday. At about what time are we looking at?
5:30,
5:30?
should say 5:30 to
Okay.
6:37.
Sorry, I was emailing you all, what?
Okay,
December 13th,
December 13th, I'm sorry.
to meet with our legislators.
so we could probably do it right here.
Yeah.
We can have a meal with them and I'll reach out to Lee Perry's replacement. I don't know how far up he represents Perry and Willard, doesn't he? And then Brigham. So we need to make sure. But with the pandemic and not going to legislature, I've never made connections with that.
And I think that's important that we do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that any of us have, so
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah, I'll do my best. So,
That would be good.
okay, we'll plan on the 13th. then.
13th.
Okay.
So you'll send us the.
Yeah, I'll send you everything. Yep, I'll get you everything lined up. So,
Okay.
And
Now-
I guess maybe one more thing on that is that we would have a plan of what we would like to ask them.
Sure.
We're kind of united, so I don't know if you would like to put that
Well,
together.
we can, you know, I'll put that on the agenda for the 8th meeting and we can talk about that a little bit more specific.
And I think that one of the things that we want our legislature to know, like the trust lands that Nancy was talking about,
Yeah.
here's where that money is going and why it's necessary. And then what our, like the, what's it called, the JLC that has put together those priorities. So if we can know what those are and speak to that when they come, and specifically how it affects, how it relates to our district.
Very good. And we could have the long-term capital outlay report, you know, we haven't had that for a bit. Just, you know, have that meeting and talk about some short-term, long-term ideas we have as we look at the possibility of growth in our school district.
All right.
The question I have is about school fees. I can have some things ready, but do we have to have 2 board meetings of public comment so that we can approve it? Or was that the original?
I will check. That's a good question.
I can't remember. I know we had 2 initially. It seems like we've done it back to back. We've had public comment, but anyway.
Well, and that probably does need to be Keith.
So
he and I can work together, but he's really taking the lead on
But
that.
if that is the case, then it's a little crazy, but if I had some things ready by December 8th, if we have to go 2, we initiate it, let people know they can come and make public comment, January 12th. And then by February, I think the law says April at the latest. And we certainly could go January, February and vote by March. Anyway, just so you know, the big year is the 2023 year. I mean, we've kind of been grooming into this, but big things happen in 2023 and we've been subtly improving, but I can't remember that and I don't know why.
I think the schools want it earlier so they can register too. So
Yes.
They want in May.
Anyway, I know it's a little ugly, but if we want to answer that and then maybe move that to the December 8th meeting. That's 2 items for me. That's probably too many.
Okay, just a reminder that the USBA conference is January 6th, 7th, and 8th down in Salt Lake City, and I think everybody saw the registration, so Marcy can.
Did that get all the way down?
Yeah. I'll do this for you. And we'll go support Wade, pass out any wants to, they have a big cheer section. I'm excited for that. So, and I don't think we have anything on the board handbook that we need to discuss, so.
No, but there is the MBA.
Oh, thank you, Wade. You emailed or you texted me and I forgot. The NBA. So we need to have that done by the end of November. If you have not, the master board, that thing, the master board award. So I know Wade's finished it. I've finished it. I think superintendent has finished it, Karen. So if you haven't,
I think it's 2/3 of our board have to finish it and get the MBA. So. And that's a nice thing to get everything.
yeah, it is nice to get it. And it's just it means we're trying to be a better board. That's the purpose of it. We're learning and we're growing as a board. We're trying to learn what our responsibilities are and to be effective as a board. So thank you again for reminding me of that. Okay. Okay, motion by Karen to adjourn. Second by Brian, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. We will see you
Thanks for coming, ladies.
next, but there's cookies over there if anybody wants them.
Have you been to a board meeting before?